would you cheer for Real Madrid ever?
Man, that's a great question.
Thank you.
Probably not. But but it's different though. You can't compare national teams to.
If Messi went to Real Madrid, you'd tell me that you'd be like,
first off, bro, no. But if Messi was like, who's an arch nemesis of USA and Mexico? Like, if Messi was playing for England, bro. If Messi was playing for England,
sure,
would I cheer for England? I mean, probably at least a little bit, right? It's like that's my boy, man. I can't. I just don't get that the blind hatred for the U.S.
It's not blind, and I can go explain it if you would like.
Go ahead. Explain, please.
All in. All right, so it's not hatred towards the U.S., all right? Love the country, love their people. The U.S. men's national team, there's a guy by the name of Landon Donovan. I think we all know him, right?
I know where this is going. Yeah, good. You're good.
Okay, so growing up in middle region of Mexico, in Guadalajara, there was a time when the United States played Mexico there at Estadio Jalisco, and my guy decides to not use the facilities, to just go to the bathroom on the field. All right? Pretty disrespectful, in my opinion. So, that being said, this is 20 years ago? When you're growing up in a country like Mexico that's so passionate about soccer, and that's like the number one sport, of course we're going to have rivalries, right? But when that happened, that elevated, and it's not about me, dude. You can ask anybody that was born in Mexico and is around my age, my dad, from my age up to I would say 30 years from me. Everybody has a certain, again, I don't know if hatred is the right word.
It's a hatred, bro. It's a hatred.
The rivalry is real, dude, and it runs deep. So when people ask me, my favorite question that I always get, but Dre, you live in the U.S. You're American. You have papers, dude. Like, it's your country. Yes, I love it. But from a soccer perspective, the national team, it's like me cheering for Barcelona. I'm a Real Madrid fan. I would never in my life, not even if my kid played for Barcelona, I'd be like, fuck it. I guess I'll just.
If your kid choose to play for the U.S. national team, do you change?
That's a great question. I've gotten that asked before. I think I will cheer for him to be successful and for him to be happy and get results. Will I be wearing the U.S. national team jersey, waving my flag? Definitely not. That's
fair. That's fair. Now, with that said, bro, I think of it the same way, but with players that I know and love, not my kid, but with players that I know and love, right? So, like, me personally, it's hard. I'll be honest, bro, just to be devil's advocate here, too. I never understood it. Being someone who was born in the States as a Mexican-American, I never understood, again, hatred's a strong word, but it very
rivalry
much is blind hatred. I know, yeah, but there's so much in common between the two countries that it's crazy that people are willing to throw bows, willing to throw fucking beer balls at each other. They're willing to go in on this rivalry when I just don't think, again, only from the frame of being a Mexican-American who lives here, it's so tough for me to just blindly hate Mexico or blindly hate the U.S. In fact, I've said on this pod, I've told you specifically, Annalena, like it's just when either team plays, I'm in because both countries are representative of who I am. That's kind of how it works for me.
And that's great. That's great. I respect that. I think there's a lot of people in the U.S. that are like that, right? They're either immigrants or first generation, even second generation. Here's my question: 4 years ago, and this can be asked to any U.S. national team fan who doesn't have any relationship to Mexico whatsoever. 4 years ago, do you think USMNT fans were cheering for Mexico in the World Cup? In Russia,
I was, but that's different.
That's what I'm saying. Not you. Take yourself out of the equation. Did you ever see posts from U.S. fans, USA, like avid, advocates for the team,
because
being like Mexico, go, yay?
They're blind haters too, though. Like that. That's what I'm saying. It's not just Mexico. It's not just you. There are blind haters on both sides of the coin. All I'm saying is sometimes it's nice to cheer CONCACAF. It's nice to cheer on the teams who are just representative of our region, where we live. I would say they're the people that we have most in common with, right? It's better than cheering on the powerhouses of England, Italy, Spain, like AKA England. And
let's go.
And like great dub today. But it's just, and some of my favorite players play for those teams too, right? So as much as it's tough for me to cheer on like Harry Kane because he's a Spurs guy, I fucking hate Spurs.
Yep.
I will still cheer him on because he's playing out there with Saka. He's still playing out there with other players that I respect and admire. But it's always just been funny to me. It's not even like, oh man, this is fucking wild and crazy. It's just been funny to hear, fans, especially fans who have strong ties to both countries, Mexico and US, to be like, oh man, I fucking hate US, or oh man, I hate Mexico. I'm just like,
I also think that
why?
no, yeah, there's a reason behind it. Like I have a very strong, like trust me, everybody that knows me, I have my foundation and I'm not going to deviate from it.
Like
2002, yeah, 2002 was a fucking dagger, dude. Like growing up, waking up at fucking 3 a.m, watching that game and Donovan scoring that goal, like that 2-0 is going to hurt, dude. I'm not going to lie. It's been 20 years and it still fucking hurts. I will admit that. But at the same time, though, you can't expect me to be like, oh, wow, yeah, I'm actually going to cheer on the boys because they're finally back to the World Cup. I'm not going to lie. When I was in Russia 4 years ago, one of the best things about being in Moscow was no American fans. It was fucking great. It was peaceful. Nobody was breaking beer bottles on each other's heads. Nobody was doing keg stands. Everybody was just having a fucking good time. So, again, nothing personal against the fans. I love it. I love the passion. But whenever both those teams play against each other, bro, don't even get me started. And you've been in some of our group chats, dude.
100%. And it's not just U.S. fans. This is like a breed of fans that extends well beyond that. They're like, I don't know. I totally understand. Let me ask you this final question before we jump into the pods. We've veered off that path a little way. If Goals is successful, right? We talk about GOLZtv on this platform all the time. If the sport really grows, the fandom and the culture really grows, and it embraces this fucking Americanized sports culture that tends to be very evident across every other top 4 sport in America, is that a good thing or a bad thing for you?
It's a fantastic thing, dude. I'm not going to lie. Like, even though last summer the U.S. beat Mexico 3 times, deep down, I'm like, thank the fucking God, because we'd been dominating for so many years. Mexico has been the king of CONCACAF for many years, ever since I was born, ever since I remember watching, right? So the fact that the U.S. has stepped up and advanced that far to make it that competitive, it is great for the sport, and it is going to grow our fan base, and it is going to make it more interesting. And I guarantee you that there's going to be more people like me coming out the woodwork and saying, you know what, you're right. Like, I'm a fan of this specific team, and rivalries are going to start creating each other. That's great. Yeah. It's good for the sport, dude. Think about it.
That's fair. That's fair. And I will say there are already plenty of people on this side of the border that are just like you, right? Because at the end of the day, people don't realize it. They hear the loudest fan base on this side of the border are the USMNT fans.
Yeah.
The much bigger fan base, which may not always be the loudest, are Hispanics, Mexican Americans, usually predominantly, especially in this country when it comes to soccer.
Sure.
Like they carry a lot of the fan base. And you see it most evidently with 2 of the rowdiest, quote unquote, fan bases in America. 100%. LAFC and Austin FC. Yep. They kill it. And there are 80 to 90% Mexican American or Hispanic. So, it's one of those things where it's like, I like asking the question. My dad and I kind of, see it somewhat the same way. He's a diehard El Tri fan, like through and through.
I know. Yeah.
And he doesn't like support US. He'll watch the games. He'll be into it. We've known a couple of players that have gone into the ranks through, from the academy to the professional. So it's hard not to support them.
Yep.
But it's just an interesting question, bro. It always, at this time of the World Cup, you get the rivalries. You get. I
did miss it. I'm not gonna lie. I did miss watching the US in the World Cup. Like 8 years ago, in Brazil, like it was fun. It's fun to banter.
Coming off this, banter, and especially after a game like today, coming off a 1-1 draw with Wales. Before we jump into the intro here, Lena, anything really quickly that you liked about this game? Like Andre said, 8 years since the U.S. has been back in the biggest tournament this sport can offer. Anything that you thought was just like, hey, you know what, U.S. is going to struggle with this, or hey, you know what, they look better than I thought.
Man, that first half, I was like, do you guys know the Peter Parker meme where he's like putting his glasses on? Like, what is that? And then,
that's kind of fucked up, honestly.
The difference between the first half and the second half, it was like Pulisic was like Ronaldinho, and then he became, I don't even know. Give me a random winger that's absolutely terrible. Like I don't understand how you can go from 100% as a team. From 100%.
Young team is how you do that, though. A young team that's not experienced, that they just switch off like that.
Well, it's just not sustainable, right? Yeah. Like I see it with Leeds. Like it was honestly, I was feeling the same things that I was feeling when I watched Leeds. I'm like, first 20 minutes, first 30 minutes, we're flying, we're pressing, we're getting opportunities.
The hardest working team in the world.
Yeah, and in the first 15 minutes of the second half, I'm like, holy fuck, I'm going back in my cave. Like this is embarrassing. We're gonna get scored on. And so
I almost cracked a beer, bro, middle of the workday. I was like, I can't even watch this shit anymore, man. It's like it's insane. It took me for like an up and down emotional roller coaster.
I will say
though, Lena was saying.
I will say day 2 of the World Cup, and already like this is what I've been waiting for, dude. It was fiery, and that's the difference when you play for something that's like much bigger than like not gonna shit on Nations League, not gonna shit on those like friendlies, international friendlies, but dude, players were, I mean, you saw at the end of the game, like how many players the second the referee blew the whistle on the ground, holding their legs, getting cramps. It's like, dude, you left everything on the field. And that's what I love to fucking see.
Yeah,
so,
that's fair.
Here for it.
Leaving everything on the field, it's what the World Cup's all about. And look, we're gonna definitely cover as much as we can of it during the World Cup. And while we're in these episodes, guys, these episodes that are taking place during this massive competition, I don't want to focus too much on like what we typically do with box to box, right? Just kind of week over week results, giving our takes. All of that's great. There'll be plenty of shows out there that offer that, though. I think the best part of the World Cup brings up the nostalgia of years past. Hearing Andre talk about Mexico dominating and US finding their ways to nick results, but they weren't in this tournament 4 years ago. It's been 8 years since they've been in. It just brings back a lot of these memories of when, Landon Donovan scores against Algeria to send the U.S. through. When John Brooks hit that winner against Ghana to get that opening, win to go into that second game against Portugal. All of these things, all these memories start to kind of come back to my brain, and I'm sure to many fans when this tournament kicks off. And so, opening 2 days of the World Cup in the books. Let's jump into it. Episode 16 of Box to Box. Let's go. Before we get started, again, guys, as I mentioned before, Box to Box brought to you by GOLZtv. GOLZtv live today for all of your free footy content needs. 100% unlimited free content for you. All right, let's jump in. We'll get to World Cup stuff, but the world of football never ceases, especially the dramatic end of football, never ceases to quit. We're coming off of it's been a few days now since the world breaking, the world famous
world exclusive.
Interview.
Yeah,
it really
dude,
was
holy
world
fuck.
exclusive. And good for Pierce Morgan for getting this interview.
Honestly,
I know they got a friendship or whatever, but dude, the impressions, the views, everything for him, hats off, man. Like you got the interview of the year.
We saw what LeBron did when he took his talents to South Beach. This shit was like times fucking 100. Like,
oh man,
holy shit, it was sick.
Before we jump into the reactions of the interview, and everybody saw it, right? The 2 parts. We all checked it out. It was a juicy fucking interview.
Yeah.
But let me ask you guys, before we jump in, because I've been thinking about this, and I haven't heard anybody talk about it. What's worse, if you're a GM or if you're a technical director or in the front office of some club? What's a worse situation to be in? Is it Ten Hag and the front office for United dealing with this Ronaldo situation? Or is it Galtier and the PSG front office dealing with Mbappe and all the bullshit that he's been presenting to them leading up to the World Cup? Which, you had to pick one. Which one do you both take?
Elena, please do me the honors here.
Here's what I'm thinking is because Mbappe, they let him have that much power. Like PSG just handed it to him.
They shot themselves in the foot.
They gave him a contract. They might have made him the vice president. Like that. That's how big of a contract it was. Whereas Ronaldo, I feel like his relationship with the United is a lot different than Mbappe's relationship with PSG. I don't know.
Oof.
For me, I'm kind of taking it from, Mbappe really feels like, honestly, to me, he's bigger than PSG. But United is bigger than Ronaldo. As big as Ronaldo is, United is a historic club. And, it's just, you're comparing, 100 years worth of experience versus, 10 to 15 of PSG. And then, just the way that they set up their relationships and what kind of players they get and everything about that club and how it's set up is different than United. So I do think that it's more embarrassing for United because of that history.
So you would prefer to be dealing with Mbappe right now than to be dealing with CR7? Okay.
Yeah, I would be.
That's fair.
I will agree with that.
Is it because you love Ronaldo?
I knew this was coming.
Or is it because you think it's easier to deal with?
No, I think it's easier to deal with somebody like Mbappe. I think Ronaldo comes with a lot of baggage. Let's just use that. When United got him, they knew what they were getting. They knew that they weren't just getting a player. They knew that they weren't getting the captain of Portugal. They knew that they were getting 500 million followers on Instagram and, 100 million euros of endorsements per year. And that comes with demands, and that comes with paying your agent, and that comes with a lot of expectations of playing time and bonuses and a lot of fucking shit that a lot of people don't realize goes into contracts. That's number one. Number two, when Ronaldo came to United and he talked about it in an interview, I mean, this is public knowledge. he was approached by Guardiola and Man City, and that was like going to be the next big thing. And all of a sudden, Sir Alex Ferguson calls him and he says, "Dude, like, love the badge, you know, like you got to come back to your club. Like, don't do that to the fan base, whatever." Sure enough, he comes back, and now I think it's starting to backfire. I think, and we talked about this before, I think United was trying to put a stopgap or find some sort of solution to their implosion, right? Because there's lack of a better term, like there really hasn't been any progress since Ferguson left with all the coaches that have gone by. If I'm an owner or if I'm a sporting director of a club, the last thing I want is to deal with Ronaldo. And the third thing I'll say and the last thing I'll say is, I'm saying that, but I'm going to shoot myself in the foot because I keep hearing all these fucking rumors that he's going to end up back at Madrid because Benzema's hurt. And so now I'm like, that's why I'm laughing. I do love Ronaldo as a player, even as a brand, but I think there's a certain level where you have to realize your limits. And I think that's the difference between him and Messi. I will give Messi credit that he knows that he's at an age where, you know what, fuck it, I don't need to be the main guy. Like, this might be his last event. The World Cup might be it. Whereas Ronaldo's like, fuck it, I'll play 10 more years. Throw me the rock. It's very different.
It is very different. And I will say, and I comment about Messi, I think he's always known that I think he always has felt anyway that he is the guy. The issue, I think the difference is that he's never been vocal about it, right?
Oh,
he always lets the media do their thing. Yep. Like imagine a world where Messi did this interview.
Oh yeah, that's exactly.
Imagine that world.
It wouldn't happen.
It wouldn't.
Never.
Yeah, there's nothing to say. It's like, you know what, man, if they don't want me to be the guy, I won't be the guy.
Fuck
It's like what he's doing with PSG. It's like, Mbappe, you want to be that? Cool.
Neymar, you want to be that? Yeah, exactly. They're like almost like role reversing. Yeah.
He just wants to win, and I think that's super important. And you know, I think it's still an ideal world. He probably wouldn't be at PSG. He probably still would be at Barca. But like nonetheless, like it, you know, I think he's okay with. Yeah, he's okay with his role. Yeah. Whereas, like, I do think, and Andre and I were talking about this a little bit. Like Ronaldo is. I joked that he was having like this midlife crisis. I don't think it's a midlife crisis. I think it's like he's struggling to deal with time. Yeah. He's struggling to deal with the fact that his game is being limited by age, by his body, by whatever it may be. And it's tough, man. You've been playing at a high level for 20 years to go from that to like, I don't know what he's going to do next, right? MLS or play overseas in China or like whatever it may be, whatever he does next. I don't know if that's going to be an easy step for him to take. Yeah. Therefore, I think sometimes the better solution for someone like that big is to deflect. And that's very much what this interview was. It was deflecting responsibility, blame, whatever it may be from him, and putting it on the club who brought him back to Manchester. Because it's easy to do it. People are already critical of the Glazers. It's just easy to criticize the back office for all of his struggles. Alina, were his... based on how candid he was, his responses, his admiration for the fans, was it possible at all for you to empathize with him? Like, can you see his perspective? I'm
on Ronaldo's side here, honestly. To be like quite like completely transparent with you guys, I think, I know I talked about how like, you know, historic and important United is as a club, but you gotta also think about Ronaldo, like the type of player he is and what he's done for the sport. And he's probably arguably the best player in the world. For a lot of people, he's the best of, in all history. And honestly, for me, every single football fan would probably put Ronaldo in their top 5 players of all time, period.
Of all time,
yeah. So I think I'm just trying to like put myself in his shoes, or maybe think how it would have turned out if Messi got that same kind of treatment at PSG. Like, let's say he went to PSG and like the system just didn't work, and he had like problems with his coach, and he just wasn't being played. Like we would still be siding with Messi, and I think it's a similar situation here. Like I don't think he's being respected, and I think that's reflecting a lot. Like he genuinely feels like he's been wronged, and the things that he did for United. And remember, like he took a step back to come back to United, in my opinion. And now it's kind of like biting him in the ass, as you guys mentioned.
Wait, you say step back? What do you mean?
A step back because he went to a club that wasn't like I don't know how to say, but not established, but they weren't, playing Champions League football. They were struggling in the Premier League. So he went to a club that is not dominant in their league. That's what I'm trying to say. Like from Madrid, who
to Juve, yeah.
To Juve,
now keep in mind,
and then
United was second place in the Prem when he came over.
Were they really?
Were they?
Yeah, they finished under Ole Solskjaer with at second place. Now they were double-digit points behind City. City ran away with it that year. That year before he came.
That's the year that they won.
They completely dominated. They won it early. And so when he came over with Sancho and Varane in the summer after they finished second place.
Mm.
That's a really good point to make.
Yeah, no, but I think to your point, Alina, I do agree with you that he had this idea of what he hoped United would be. And he talks about it openly in the interview, right? From the facilities to just diet to personal training, he's been working at a certain level at Madrid and at Juve, and when you come back to a club that you were at 12, 15 years ago, you kind of expect it to keep up with the times, right? And so I think it's a lot of his frustrations. I do agree with Alina. I do side with him, but I also think that this business is about tact, and I don't think he's being tactful enough to say, okay, this is how I feel about it. I'm not going to fucking do an exclusive interview and bash on my teammates and my club and my coaches and former, players like Rooney. Like, there's ways to do it in a more tactful way. But I also see his side and the fact that he probably is really frustrated. And he did it. I mean, he's a fucking brilliant guy. He did it the week before the World Cup. He doesn't have to worry about United for the next 6 weeks or so. So off he goes to Portugal and you guys can deal with it. But by the way, I just got 100 million more followers on Instagram. So.
Yeah,
timing
was key.
You guys know what the craziest part of that interview was? Him naming Allegri as one of the best coaches he's worked on.
I knew you were actually. I forgot to text you about that.
But no. Let's not take recency bias into it. Allegri has a long line of winning, a long tradition of winning, and keep in mind, right, Alina, like even if his last couple years at Juve weren't that great, right? And Allegri wasn't part of all of that, right? There was Pirlo in the mix, and there was a bunch of shit going on. Nothing compares to what he felt probably when Ragnick came in. He's like, who is this guy? Like, I don't even know what he's done. I have to go look him up. Versus the coaches he's played for that come with a pedigree, right? Like he first experienced it with Sir Alex, and then to go from that over to who were his coaches at it was Mourinho. Then
Madrid.
It was
he was under Ancelotti and Zidane.
So Mourinho, Zidane, Ancelotti, right?
Yeah.
Zidane still works.
Lopetegui doesn't count. I know.
Yeah, it was like 10 months. Like that doesn't really get.
But he did. He played for like elite caliber coaches. Mm-hmm. Even when Zidane took over, he was still an assistant for Ancelotti for so many years that it almost is the same thing.
And he had won at the. Now, granted, Zidane took the same path that Guardiola did. He was winning at the B level, right?
Yep.
Before he ever came up to the Primera, and that's when he got to literally kind of flex his muscles.
Yeah.
So and of course, Zidane has the player pedigree that Ronaldo respects. The guy's won it all. So I get it, right? I understand from that point. It's like, what are we doing? Who the fuck is this guy?
Who is this guy?
Why do I have to listen to him? I don't understand.
Yeah.
So I empathize to that extent, and I 100% agree with everything you guys are saying. The only part I wish he would have taken a little more responsibility on was everything leading up to this season. I do agree that he left. He didn't go to preseason training camp simply because his family was in shambles. Everybody knows what they were going through. No one can put themselves in his shoes when it comes to that. And you got to give him time, but at the same time, you're also, if you're the Glazers and if you're Ten Hag, you're very aware that Jorge Mendes is shopping him around. He's trying to figure out, what his next club's going to look like because everyone knew he didn't want to be at United. Yeah. I just wish a little bit that there was some responsibility taken in that because it was, in my opinion, a two-way street. But I get where everybody's coming from.
It's kind of interesting.
And the last point I'll make is that isn't it crazy? We've been watching this game. I've been alive for 30 years, and it's insane to me that I've never seen players have this much power. Mm-hmm. Never in my time competing in this game or playing this game or watching it. I've never seen players have this much power. And it's not Ronaldo, even just Ronaldo. Lukaku did an interview not too long ago.
Yep.
Like, we've never seen players come out of the woodwork with their opinions, be open to sharing them publicly, even if it means tanking their individual spell at this club in order to move on to another club. Like, it's crazy. Like, I've never seen players be this vocal about it, and I think it's just a signal of the times changing.
Yeah, social media, brands, Contracts are overinflated. I mean, you have a Harry Maguire, that's worth $100 million.
Yeah,
I mean,
dude.
all of that factors into also your mental aspect of it, right? As a player, you don't just show up, strap the boots on, and get to work. Like, there's a lot of players that are like that. I'm not going to discredit those guys, like a Toni Kroos, for example. That guy could be as big as, Messi, Neymar, whatever, from a brand standpoint. The dude is very reserved. He tweets once a month. He wears the same Adipure since 2010. My guy fucking shows up, puts the shin guards on that are like this big, and cashes his checks, and that's it. He doesn't want to be involved in that. And I think that's the difference. I think players are getting more momentum, and they're getting more empowered to say, fuck it, I do have a say in this club. And to your point, Alina, sometimes they look at the badge and they're like, well, fuck it, I'll look at the name on the back first. And I think that is very important, because even PSG, like this, let's not discredit them. Like, before, they got all the money now, you have guys like Ronaldinho who was playing there, right? Before he went to Barcelona.
Pauleta was playing there.
That's what I'm saying. Like, PSG is not a small club per se. They just haven't won as much. But you can't discredit history and take it away from, like decades, sometimes even centuries of a club, just because you think that the name on the back is more important. Like, that to me is kind of bullshit. So
yeah, I agree 100%. Well, either way, it was a banger. I'm so interested and intrigued to see how United treat this. Like, if they're going to terminate his contract, if they're going to, I think they're talking about suing him for breach of contract. That could be a thing too. And who ends up getting him next, because I think, if logic dictates here, he will not play another match for United. And if they can't move him in this window in January after the World Cup, for whatever reason, for the lack of not being able to secure a transfer fee or not being able to terminate his contract the way they planned, if it doesn't work out, dude, he may ride the bench. Like, he going to do what Piqué was going to do for Barcelona, right? Like, just never play a game again.
Yeah.
And that's going to be, his tenure at the club for the rest of the season. I mean, that would suck. A world without Ronaldo featuring in any games, I don't think anybody wants, especially with how much time he has left. Like, let's see him in as many matches as possible. But it's got to be somewhere where I think he feels valued and the club feels like it's honestly a leg up to have him, not just someone we have to deal with in the locker room. So,
correct. Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. But, with that said, plenty of injuries presenting the opportunity for him to move on. You mentioned Benzema and him, lining himself up as the backup option for Real Madrid, which would be nuts. If he makes a second return or a second homecoming in his career, it would be fucking crazy. But injuries, man, I thought they were going to stop when everybody cut for the break, was shipping out to Qatar, getting ready for the World Cup, doing training sessions and whatnot. And, dude, days 1, 2, and 3 of training sessions taking place all over the place. I feel so bad for French fans. That's what I was going to say.
That was going to be my first one to bring it up. I mean, and the thing is, like, not every team played friendlies leading up to the World Cup. Like, the U.S. didn't play any friendlies at all. They said, fuck it, we're going to get to camp, and then we're just going to do our own, training. Mexico had 2 friendlies. And then France, you show up with probably, arguably, one of the best teams in the world, top 3, in my opinion. Yep. And then 2 of your main guys fucking go down. Dude.
It's so heartbreaking, bro. And look, nothing against. It's not that I hate Benzema. It's just that he's older, and it's probably the only World Cup, it's the last World Cup, and probably the only World Cup he was really going to do something in. And the last time he featured for France in a World Cup, it was like when he was
Brazil,
young,
2014,
promising,
8 years ago.
Yeah. So it's not that I don't feel bad, but he's been here before. And Kunku, man, it's like, dude, and you have a long career ahead of you, so there can be more opportunities. Don't get me wrong, but it's just I was so excited for him to be the guy that's not so talked about in this, in this France attack. We Mbappe, Benzema, Dembele, they get so many of the headlines, and Kuku's just kind of there. I thought he was going to be a game changer, and now,
dude, I'll give my guy Max Clark a shout out. I don't know if you saw his tweet. He's like, there's one guy in the World Cup that I know is going to have a banger of a World Cup. 10 minutes later, gets hurt.
The same fucking day. I told you, you ruined it for everybody.
He did. He jinxed it, bro.
For literally everybody.
But Nkunku was supposed to be that guy, especially with Pogba and Kante not playing. You needed somebody to step into that, more of an 8 to 10 midfield role. And Nkunku would have been perfect. You've got Mbappe, you've got Dembele, you've got Benzi up top. Nkunku would have been floating. He would have been like an Ozil in 2014 for Germany. So it's a bummer. But to your point, he's got 3-4 more World Cups in front of him. So,
but we get. I don't know. I'm watching these games right now. I get a little bit scared, bro. Like watching certain tackles happen. We just watched USA Wales. They're leaving everything on the pitch. Not only physical, but it's draining.
Yeah,
you're sprinting up. As to every single ball because you care that much about getting as many points in every match as you can. What's going to happen though When some of these guys, I mean, it's not like any World Cup where you break for 2 months after that and then you go back into the season. We have a whole other half, probably 60% of the European season to go. I'll kind of ask each one of you this because this is where my mind goes with it. What if a key injury happens during this World Cup and it changes the trajectory entirely for a club team when we get back from the World Cup on Boxing Day? And it doesn't have to be Prem specific, doesn't have to be, any kind of specificity here, but I'll ask each one of you. We'll start with Alina. Is there a player or a team, where if you see like, hey, if this player gets injured, it'll honestly derail everything this club team has been working for, and may even just change the landscape of the Prem, of Champions League, of Europa League, of anything that we all have our eyes on once we get back from the World Cup?
Yeah. I think it's a perfect question because I was reading this article this morning about how Inter are really concerned with how much Belgium are pushing Lukaku forward to start, and he's still not fit. He's struggling with that muscular injury, and they're pushing and pushing and pushing. And he's also training. He's not taking breaks, and he's just it's clear that he really wants to play, and he's been struggling with this injury for like the past 2 months, right? So if he pushes himself even further and he ends up getting re-injured or getting a worse injury or whatever it is, I think the difference with that would be Inter would get knocked out against Porto in the Champions League as opposed to possibly going to the quarters or the semi of the Champions League. And same thing for Belgium too. Belgium, I think they're taking a huge risk right now trying to push him to be ready for the group stages. Right now, I think if they just give him more time and just trust the other guys that they have already, it would be so much better because they're gonna need him in the knockouts if they do make it through, just like their club.
There's a few players on that roster too that you bring that up. Andre, how do you feel with Benzema now hurt? How do you feel if, I guess maybe it doesn't matter. What if Hazard gets hurt?
I love how maybe it doesn't matter.
Maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't. To be quite honest with you, I think we're just.
Mariano is the guy.
Yeah, dude. M7, bro. M7.
M7, yes, sir.
MD7. No, I think. I mean, that's one thing that I will say. People can give me a lot of shit about for being a Real Madrid fan, but after the Brazil World Cup, we got Keylor Navas, we got James Rodriguez, we got Chicharito. Florentino is one of those guys that's like, you know what, fuck it, I'll take the streaky guy right now. And if you see somebody who steps up, gonna say it here, you heard it first, Jude Bellingham. Dude, he's gonna be wearing white in the summer.
I thought that too. I was telling my dad about this shit too. I was like, look, he's gonna go one of two ways. He's gonna go either to Real Madrid or he's gonna go home. I think he's going to end up going to the Prem and Liverpool or United or somebody in the midfield. But it's one of the two.
Yeah, this World Cup's going to make or break his career really in a big way. So to answer your question, sucks to see Hazard go, sucks to see Benzi go. But you know what? There's fucking 10 dudes out there that I'm sure we're going to end up bagging anyway. So
yeah, it sucks more to see Benzi go. Again, I'm not trying to give Hazard too much shit, but bro, I honestly can't remember how you look when you dribble. It's been that long. But with that said, I think the player that I feel would be it was crazy. Arsenal top of the Prem, but we didn't even send them any players to the World Cup. It's like we sent maybe 9 or 10 players, and I don't know. It just wouldn't and hardly any of them feature. If Saka gets hurt, we'll need to sign another winger in the window.
You mean Ronaldo?
Immediately.
Hell no! If we sign Ronaldo, I don't mind having. He's a backup to Jesus. I don't care what anybody.
Oh, okay.
He is 1,000% a backup to Gabriel Jesus, and you want to know why? Because Jesus doesn't even score goals anymore for Arsenal. You know what his best contributing factor? His assists and his build-up play.
That's
two
fair.
Things Ronaldo does not know how to do anymore. So
yeah, it's just a different team. He wouldn't
completely different. He wouldn't fit in.
But he'd sell a lot of fucking jerseys. I will say that.
Hell yes, and I will say, with 20 minutes to go, would I put in Ronaldo? Oh fuck,
hell yeah!
Is he better than Nketiah? Fuck yeah! But at the end of the day, I will not take this. I don't know. I won't disrupt the shit we have going on. I will say,
I fucking love it.
The person who freaks me out, that I get that anxiety in every part of my body when I'm going to watch him play later this week, will be Araujo for Uruguay. And I'm sure the Valverde potential for an injury too makes you.
Dude,
I don't know.
Get me started.
Yeah, I'm knocking on wood as we speak. Like I don't want any of that, any of those vibes to be out there. But like Barca had to send a medic with him to Uruguay to Qatar because they fear that they're just going to say fuck it and at some point just throw him into the group stage. Apparently, the instruction is he cannot come in until knockouts, so they won't even have him for the group stage. So if I see him play, I'm gonna have a mini aneurysm because I'm gonna lose it because we need him. You saw how bad our defense is. We need him back.
I know.
We absolutely need him. So yeah, that's where my mind goes with this shit. I hate this middle of the year World Cup. I fucking hate it.
I do too.
I love watching the games, but every time I see one of my players that I support like go into a hard crunching tackle, I just like cringe, like really just bad.
Gasp in Spanish. Hi.
Yeah. It sounds like when my mom is driving. And
that's what I'm saying, dude.
Yeah, bro. I'm like, Mom, you're gonna give me anxiety.
Like a telenovela when it zooms in. You know?
Yeah, like, I don't know, man. It's crazy. But look, there's a lot of lists, like, a lot of people on a list here that I'm kind of looking at. I mean, guys that could again have major impacts on their team. That if they were to get hurt, it'd be crazy. Think of Fede Valverde. Think of Vinny Jr. when he was Real Madrid.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, all of the English players, right? Think of what happens to Spurs without Harry Kane. We saw him get hurt a little bit today, right? Against
he
Iran.
Did. It looked
he
bad.
Took that ankle, it rolled.
It was bad.
Bro, Spurs fans probably had a mini heart attack for like a second because like that's the last thing England fan wants to see. But
then they were like, we got Richarlison, so we good. Not a big deal.
I don't know about that.
Exactly.
Oh, dude, by the way, now that we're talking about Richarlison really quickly, do not take Bobby Firmino.
Oh God. I mean, look, man, okay, the one redeeming factor about Richarlison is that he does play way better for Brazil than he plays for Spurs.
Yeah, okay.
I will say that. He plays way better. But Bobby Firmino tends to be pretty consistent on both teams, and he's been on a tear for Liverpool, even though Liverpool is
streaky
this season. Like it's just it's tough. So
okay.
I don't know. I get it, but like, either way, I don't know. I'm watching injuries like a crazy person this World Cup because it gives me anxiety with this being in the middle of winter. So we'll see what happens. Again, fingers crossed, knock on wood, whatever other, ways to debunk conspiracies are lined up for me. On to more positive shit because that's really what I want to be focusing on this World Cup. I mentioned before, top of the show, how much nostalgia the World Cup brings, man. It's insane. I think of all of the moments that go down in history for any given country. I mean, even as recently as the 2018 World Cup, I'm so ready for Mexico to play coming up because every Mexican or Mexican American just remembers Chucky Lozano scoring on Germany and what that felt like and wanting to party, calling my tios and my tias over just to have a good time in the middle of a week because you never saw anything like that. Us scoring and beating the defending World Cup champion in that way, and then seeing videos. You wanted to be in Russia, bro. I was so jealous of Andre. I wanted to be there because I wanted to be partying with my people until the fucking sun came up the next day.
It wasn't until the sun came out, by the way. Like
hell yeah,
you're joking.
Rightfully so, 100%.
We stayed out till fucking 7 a.m. Like screw it. And it was funny because just a personal anecdote. I flew in. It was the first game of the group. I flew in the night before overnight. So I got there at 7 a.m, the day of the game, right? And I'm all jet lagged and shit. And we get to our Airbnb and we check in and we open the fridge and there's a 6-pack. Listen to this one. I'll never forget. There's a 6-pack of MGD 40s, bro. Miller Genuine Draft 40-ounce beers. And in the freezer, there's some like Russian vodka and a little note from our Russian Airbnb host, like, have fun in Russia. And we're like, this is going to be a good fucking day. So we just had a feeling, dude. We just had a fucking feeling.
Can't go wrong with Russian vodka and
an MGD. 40s. Let's go.
Jeez, bro.
That's it.
If that wasn't a pregame invitation, I don't know what is.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
That's
best host ever,
dude. Pregame invite. Hell yeah, best host ever. But look, bro, like equally with the good moments, there are bad moments. The controversies, the goals, everything in between, bro. The World Cup like really brings out every emotion. So I think it would be really cool while we have some time on the pod to kind of get away from some of the kind of mainstay news that we typically talk about on the pod and focus a little more about this nostalgia, what the World Cup brings. And I kind of want to go almost World Cup by World Cup from 2018 backwards.
Okay, how about, I love this idea, by the way. what's the first World Cup that you actually remember? Not that you see on TV and you're like, oh, like 86 Maradona. No, that you actually remember as a kid, like growing up and watching it for both.
Watching it. I'll go first. I was 7 years old. The '98 World Cup. So I would have been too young in my opinion, right? Yeah. Obviously, at like 3 or 4 years old to remember it. But like I would say, yeah, the '98 World Cup. I remember watching that pretty vividly for the most part, and thinking like I don't know why I thought. I mean, obviously because France and Brazil were the powerhouses back then. But like I remember thinking that like soccer started in Brazil, like they completely were like the mother nation and the birthplace of the sport because of everything I was watching on TV. And then it wasn't until like I educated myself and I was like, oh my God, like that's not even close to what happened. And they took the game in a whole different way. So that's my like
98
watching it, 98, buying FIFA 98 short after that. And then that started my every year run of FIFA 98 all the way through now, getting FIFA every single year, going to GameStop at midnight, getting the new release, skipping school or work the next day to play.
Best, dude. 25 years, bro. 25 fucking years of FIFA, dude.
Yeah.
People don't realize that.
People don't realize, too, if you weren't alive back then, 98 had the infamous indoor arena. So you could pick indoor. You could clear a ball and it would never go out.
It would just keep bouncing in.
Keep bouncing everywhere. Like, it would just keep going. I fucking loved it, bro.
Will you play that game and you'd be like, oh, what was the score? Like, my dad would ask me. I was like, oh, 21-20. Like, what the fuck? It was the ball best,
never went out, and you would just keep playing. I fucking loved it, bro. I loved it.
Dude,
that was mine. I don't know what Alina's was.
Oh man, I remember the 2002 World Cup. How old was I?
Gosh,
I was like 7 years old. I watched some games, but all I remember, because I was like so young, so I couldn't like comprehend everything. All I remember was like my family being so mad at the refereeing. in that World Cup, and the 2006 that was one that I remember. Like I watched a few games from that
that's awesome.
Too. Yeah,
and then that was where are you from again, Alina?
I'm Assyrian.
Okay, so were you and your family in Syria when this took place, or no? Were you already in the States?
Yeah, I was in Syria, but I'm not Syrian. I'm Assyrian. ASSYRIAN.
Yes. So what team did you guys support growing up?
Oh, my dad is a huge Germany fan. He's always been a Germany fan.
Oh yeah, you talked about getting the jersey. Yeah,
that's right. I did. And for some reason I've had a weird obsession with Italy ever since I was a kid. Like
I remember you mentioned that too.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Actually, 2006 was a great World Cup to follow.
Hell yeah! I was about to say the next one was like perfect for you then. The reason I was asking because you probably didn't go through like the same like trials of trying to juggle the fucking time zones and shit that we did here in the States. Like I remember being so amped as a little kid. I was like at that point probably 10, 11 years old and so jacked up for the World Cup because it was my chance to stay up all night or to like,
or wake up early,
not go to bed or like, wake up super late for my parents, wake my parents up. It felt like Christmas almost,
Yeah, like that's exactly the best description of it. And I'll just piggyback on that. I think 94, I remember like flashbacks. So I don't really remember much, but 98 was really the one that just like fucking, threw my world for a spin. 2002 was, I think, probably the most memorable for me. Obviously other than the one that I just went to 4 years ago, but 2002 was big because at the time I was like starting to play in more like, develop youth programs. I was starting to think about going pro and all this shit. And it was the Korea Japan one. So same thing as now. You'd wake up at 2 a.m, 3 a.m. I remember me and my dad would just like turn the TV on, put it on mute so my mom wouldn't know. Just like scream the goals, like, not like actually scream it, but like at each other, like, let's go. So that one was a good one. 2006, I was getting recruited to play in college. So actually on my birthday was when Italy beat France in the World Cup final. So that's the other thing too, that I haven't shared with you guys. My birthday is always around the World Cup final. It's the second weekend of July. I think I've told you, Jose, but it's always like around my birthday is July 9th. So the World Cup final is always between July 8th and July 13th. So this time around that it's going to be a week before Christmas is going to be fucking weird. We're going to be together. We're going to be together in New York in the winter. But that's the thing that I remember the most. It's just like summers and, staying up all the fucking night and watching soccer all day.
Yeah. It's honestly, man, it's thinking about like what you were doing when certain moments in football happened.
Dude, to your point, like good and bad. Because I will say, we have a buddy, Mario. I will give him a fucking shout out. The 2006 World Cup, when Argentina, Maxi Rodriguez scored that banger against Osvaldo Sanchez, dude. And we've talked about it off camera. But
my dad almost cried. But
I cried. It was the worst fucking feeling, dude. So it makes you feel all these, like, the range of emotions, right? Especially when your actual national team is playing. So it's great to, like, have those memories, but it's also great to see more memories being made, especially for, like, me being in the U.S. now and seeing the U.S. fan base, like, kind of rally behind that Donovan goal in 2010, or even that, you know, Jermaine Jones goal against Portugal in 2014.
Oh, man.
Those are fucking great memories, dude. And that's what makes the World Cup so unique, I think. Like, people talk about, you know, the Olympics, and they talk about the Winter Olympics. Yes, but at the same time, it's not only one sport that is globally recognized. I think that is the beauty of the World Cup. So
I agree, bro. Speaking of, you mentioned, like, you know, we're talking a lot about, you know, these moments where you mentioned somewhat not a controversial moment, but it's a moment maybe that's a little more associated with negative feelings because of what happened in that Maxi Rodriguez goal. Yeah, but also just the goal itself felt like a dagger. Like,
it just felt like a nightmare all around.
It felt like a dagger because of just all of it, bro. The switch from the left side to the right, Maxi trapping it, and I don't think anybody expected him to hit it.
I don't think he expected to hit it.
and then he just smacks it with his weak foot, and I'm like,
yeah, okay,
you know, it's probably gonna like go right over. I'm not even worried about it. And then you see Osvaldo just jump and
for his life, dude. And it's funny because Osvaldo, I actually met him, and everybody talks about that goal. He's like, dude, I asked him straight up, like, what's the one goal in your career? He had a fantastic career in Mexico for Chivas. What's the one goal that you'll always remember? He's like, dude, that fucking Maxi Rodriguez goal. Like, he's like, I try to stretch as hard as I could, bro, and I just couldn't get there.
So let me ask you this. So what was worse for you? Was it that moment in the 2006 World Cup or the no fue penal in 2014?
Oh, don't do me like that, dude.
And while he thinks about this, guys, for those who, you know, are maybe just don't know Spanish or don't remember what that moment was, it was the 2014 World Cup in knockouts when Netherlands and Mexico met in the round of 16. Mexico went up first. Netherlands tied it, and then right as the game is closing out, Arjen Robben, like he always does. I say always because I've seen it a million times. I've seen it in club ball.
Same fucking play. Cuts inside,
and
barely gets touched.
Found the contact, found it, and no VAR back then. So there's no way to overturn a ref call, and the penalty is the dagger and continues the curse as we know it today. So, Andre, which one was the worst moment for you to experience as a fan?
Okay, I think if I had to, you know, gun to my head, if I had to say it, it was that no era penal. It was the Robben flop for a lot of different factors because we dominated.
That's sad, right?
Well, yeah, but also it felt the same way again. Like, you can't, when you feel something for the first time, you're like, oh shit, like your first breakup, yeah, it fucking sucks. But if you feel it again, you're like, God damn it, we're back to this shit. All right. The fact that he flopped, the fact that we were up 1-0 until the 89th, the fact that he played for Real Madrid, the fact that both people that scored that day played for Real Madrid, Schneider, Huntelaar. Oh my God, it was a fucking
mixed
dagger,
emotions,
dude.
Bro. Mixed emotions.
And I mean, and I think the biggest thing is the fact that they made it all the way to the semifinals, and I was like, that could have been us. That could have been us. We could have beat Costa Rica in the fucking next round, and we would have made it all the way to the semis against who did they playing? Was it Argentina? Yeah, they lost in PKs to Argentina. Robben, for sure. For sure.
Would you take back the Chucky Lozano goal in 2018 to have that call against Robben back?
If you tell me that we made it all the way to the semis, yes. Ooh. I would have taken the L against Germany because
what about the memories? Think about everything that day. Think of the whole day, bro. Think of everything you did after the fucking goal, the celebrations, after the game was over, the historic win against defending World Cup champions Germany. You're telling me if you had a chance to make a run just to the semis, when I say just, that's still Final Four, but make a run to the semis in exchange for none of those emotions. You lose to Germany 1-0 or 2-1 or whatever it is. Maybe you don't even get out of groups, right? Because then Germany advances. You want to give all that up for that, just to have that moment back.
Dude, you're going to hate me for this, but yeah.
I don't hate you, bro. It's actually interesting.
I would, because, again, going to the game in Germany, or the game against Germany, all of us were like, dude, hopefully we don't lose 5-0. Hopefully we don't lose 4-0. Like, if we get a tie, awesome. So the fact that we won was like kind of unexpected, right? So that's very different than like you beat Holland, you get momentum, you get Costa Rica, easy. Right?
Easier. Yeah,
that was their good year. That was their good year. I'm not gonna shit on them. That was their good year. Keylor Navas, whatever. Yeah. You beat them, and then you're in the semis, dude. Like to see Mexico in a semifinal, weekend at a World Cup, because then you play another game. You don't just play the semi. If you lose, you play the third place match.
That's true. Okay.
So Mexico could have played 7 games.
And imagine that would have been finally, right, the golden generation doing something in a World Cup that would have 100%. Been truly meaningful.
And no questions asked, because it was Giovanni Dos Santos, it was Chicharito, it was Vela, it was Memo Ochoa when he was in his prime, it was Guardado in his prime. Like, that team was, if you look at it on paper, probably the most talented team that Mexico has had in 30 years. And so I would definitely, like, love you, Chucky Lozano, but, bro, to beat Holland, would have been amazing.
This is a great conversation. I want to pose another interesting question to Alina, and it's a little more controversial, but I still want her to pick the moment. I love digging into things that could never happen, because then you get someone's true take on football, and I think it just unlocks the mind a little bit. So equally, Alina, pick a moment that is more controversial. Okay, in your mind, it was simply just more controversial all the way around and had more of an impact on the World Cup. Which do you feel is more controversial? Nigel de Jong's stamp in the chest against Xabi Alonso in the World Cup final, which is massive, right? Mm-hmm. And yes, it goes on to win that game for Spain. Who knows what happens in the Netherlands keep their 11 on the field. Or the Zidane headbutt on Materazzi in 06.
Oh my God. Oh, that's hard.
2 World Cup finals, man. I love this. This is so hard to answer, because I don't know what's more impactful, but which one do you think is more impactful as a controversial moment?
I think I'm going to have to go with the Zidane one, because
that dude was he was balling in that World Cup, man. It was crazy.
He won best player of the tournament.
Yeah. And the flyest. You see his cleats, bro? Holy shit. Those goal predators were fucking amazing.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the Zidane one, because Nigel de Jong, it was a red card, but this is Zidane we're talking about. This is a game changer at not even any minute, any second he can change the game. Yep. And it was really, I think it was early on too that he got the red card. I think it was maybe like 100 and something minutes. So
there was still the whole second half of extra time left.
Yeah, so I think he could have had a lot of time, and then potentially, even if it went to penalties, he would have had a penalty, and we all know that Zidane's penalties.
He would have Panenka'd it again.
Again? There's no way he does it twice. If he does it twice in a game...
On Buffon, by the way.
There's no way he does that twice. Bro, if he does that twice, he's just shitting on legends of the game, and that's disrespectful as shit.
Yeah, I was going to say the disrespect of my guy, but yeah.
So you pick Zidane?
Yeah, I would pick Zidane, because just like I'm looking at it based on like the caliber of player. I'm not saying that if Zidane didn't get a red card, France would have won the World Cup, but I think they would have had a much bigger chance than the impact wise than Nigel de Jong. Yeah. No offense to Nigel.
That's fair. That's fair. Andre, same question for you, bro.
Okay.
No, same one.
Oh, the same thing.
Same scenario.
Yeah, probably Zidane, dude. I just remember watching both games. And it's kind of fun. I mean, it's not funny, but in a way, it is kind of karma that they didn't win, that Holland didn't win the World Cup in 2010, and then 2014 they get beat by Argentina, even though they beat us the way they did. In a weird way, I'm not gonna lie to you. I hope they never fucking win the World Cup,
dude. That's still mad. Say. You're still mad about.
That's all I'm gonna say. And they just played today. They played well. I'll give them that. But no, to the Zidane thing. Like, think about that history-altering moment. That's literally history-altering, dude. Because
and his last game too.
Yeah, it was his last game when he takes off the band and he walks by the World Cup, that iconic photo. If he stays on and it's 11v11, I think France win the World Cup, dude. Like, there's no way that Italy would have had enough to, number one, withstand them for the next 15 minutes, and number two, in a penalty kick shootout with Zidane in the team mentally, would have probably helped. So
that's fair.
Yeah, I agree with her.
So before we wrap up, let me ask you this: if I were to just show you an alternate reality where Netherlands end up beating Spain in that World Cup because Nigel de Jong stays on the field, and they beat not just any Spain, but the iconic Spain, the peak of their powers, Barcelona and Real Madrid, just shitting on everybody, and they were coming off the back of winning the Euros. Like, if Netherlands were to upset that team because Nigel de Jong stays on the field and they have a full 11, does that change your response at all, either one of you?
Ooh,
if it alters, like, you know, what actually happened.
I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think
still a bigger moment for Zidane to exit that game.
Yeah, dude. I think Spain not winning the World Cup in that year would have been pretty iconic. It would have been a hole, but at the same time, they won bookend Euros, right? They won the 2008 and they won the 2012. That generation would have probably found a way in 2014 in Brazil.
Yeah.
I think that chip on your shoulder of losing that final the way that you did in overtime against Holland 1-0, that would have been really tough, dude. But I still think that Spain had enough in 2014 to probably just say, okay, we haven't won one, let's fucking go. I think in 2014, when you saw, you know, the whole debacle of losing to Holland in that group stage game with Van Persie's header and all that shit, they were probably in the back of their mind, they're like, fuck, we already beat them in the final. We already fucking beat them in the final.
But it was just a fucking spanking. Like, it, I mean,
it was like not even
that Flying Dutchman goal was the goal to cap just a complete rout of Spain, and it looks like they just fucking gave up. Like, it
similar
was like,
feeling. It was the same feeling as Brazil losing 7-1 to Germany. That's what it felt like.
That still feels worse, bro. That still.
I mean, at home, in the World Cup semi, but
insane. Anyway. I felt like I kept pinching myself during that game. Like, there's no way this is happening. Like,
I'm pretty sure the whole Brazil team did too. They're like, guys, wake the fuck up! It's 4-0 already.
Once it was 4, I was
like, GG's.
It's done, bro.
GG's.
It's done. It's it's a good game. Like that's it. And it's shitty because even at 4, the game's not even close to being over yet. And
no.
You don't see fans leaving because it's their national team, but they're just in tears. They're in shambles. They're every emotion in the book, right? And they're trying to just hold it together and pray to God there's a miracle. But then they all knew. They all knew that this was just, you know, this Germany team was built different.
I mean,
but also equally.
Neymar too. It was.
That's when he got hurt. I forgot.
He broke his back, right?
Zuniga against Colombia. I mean, when it was 4-0 and fucking Sami Khedira and Toni Kroos are just shredding you. At that point, you're like, all right, it's time to go. Let's just wrap it up, dude. Like, I would have taken the forfeit, just 4-0. That's it. We're good.
We're not coming back out for the second half. So
that's it.
You can give it to him. Bro, I don't know, man. This tournament's produced so many emotions. And already, man, like 2 days in, you know, we've had, you know, England rout Iran today. We've had Netherlands beat Senegal convincingly 2-0. We had the U.S. and Wales put on actually a pretty damn good show, all things considered. I mean, a very young U.S. team looked like fucking vintage Barcelona in the first half, and then like in second half just completely fell off. And you know, I'm so pumped to see what happens tomorrow. Keep in mind tomorrow, guys, which, you know, we're recording this on Monday the 21st, 22nd. We go to town with Messi, you know, kicking off his World Cup campaign with Argentina. Crack of dawn, 4 a.m. Central, 5 a.m. Eastern. I'm super pumped for that one.
And Mexico
show today, and Mexico.
Don't forget.
Saturday's France, Denmark, Mexico, Argentina.
Yeah, Saturday.
That whole afternoon's booked.
Clear your calendars on Saturday.
I'm not doing shit Saturday. I am locked 100% in for that entire day. It's going to be insane. I want to go to. There's a couple like very, very Hispanic bars here in Dallas that are going to be completely like full up. I want to go just to be around more fans so that I can really embrace it. If Mexico beats Argentina, my whole family's going to freak the fuck out. Like, it's going to be insane. But
your whole family, the whole fucking this side of the world.
The world. I mean, I know. I always like relate it to like the closest people around me. But like, I'm like you know, that's what I'm gonna be watching with, and everybody's going to flip shit. It's going to be wild. Like, dude, I can't even.
It's going to be insane. But
that
being said, I know, pretty excited. Excited for the New York trip, by the way.
Yeah, and we should talk about that really quick. We are going to be in New York, Andre and myself, for the what are we calling this, man? It's the World Cup final episode. I will say that we are going to be recording our box to box episode. I don't remember what episode that'll be by that time. It'll be like 2021, something along those lines. But we're going to be recording and playing a few different, kind of like we're doing today, interesting topics and probably some games around soccer or football specific topics that we think are going to just be fun to talk about in lieu of the World Cup final being there. We're talking World Cup superlatives, the whole nine. It's going to be a ton of content for us to dig into, and I'm super, super pumped about it. So with that said, though, I think we kind of end the episode here. This was great. We got a lot of games coming up this whole week. Starting tomorrow, 4 matches a day. So there's not going to be any shortage of shit to talk about on the football front. But while the World Cup's going on, we're also paying heavy attention to everything else that's going on around it, right? The Ronaldo fallout, any injuries that could stem from this World Cup, how club football gets impacted. So, guys, stick around for the Box to Box. We got a lot of really cool content coming your way the next few weeks. If you haven't done so already, like the video, subscribe to the channel. It's free. And more importantly, share with a friend. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Anything that's nostalgic around this tournament, please let us know. Always happy to talk about it. This episode was fun as shit. And I'm excited to record the next one. So without further ado, this was great, guys. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you guys next time.